One quarterfinal down, 3 more to go. Welcome back, everybody, to the DreamHack Zowie Open, live from Leipzig. Once again, it is currently 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we are well underway with the second day of the DreamHack Open stop from east of Germany. There is the Star Trophy once again, which will be available for one of the players, whoever makes it to tomorrow, where the grand finals will take place. Our next match is the 17-year-old Finnish superstar, Serral, taking on the Korean player Violet. Joining me on the desk, Kalaris, Nathanias, and Todd. A good start to the day. France go through to yet another top 4, Todd. Yeah,
easy peasy, man. No, actually, it was pretty close, but good to see France still being represented. Kind of sad that, you know, the hometown hero goes out, but he fought long and hard, and I'm sure people appreciate that.
Yeah, another quarterfinal finish for Dario, unfortunately. I think he's got about 20 of those in the last few years.
He'll eventually get over it. Like, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in terms of these kind of WCS circuit events this year for him to actually perform at, and he'll be at a lot of them. So.
Yeah, definitely good for Drogo, though, to be able to go through here, Nathanias. His first big showing at a tournament like this. I mean, he performed very well at Home Story Cup more recently in the last couple of months, but to come here to DreamHack, to be able to start the year with a bang is good for him.
Especially with how some of the non-Korean Protosses have been talking about PvZ being very difficult as well. Being able to get a win in that matchup must make you feel good, especially since he knows he has to play either a Protoss or a Terran. So, you know.
But when you look at Drogo's games, to be honest, it really feels like it's the other way around.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying, like, you know, he should be feeling even better
he's not good.
going into the semifinals. That's all I'm saying. He should be feeling even more confident now.
Hopefully so, and maybe he can look at his first ever finals, and it's, you know, it's not unlikely, to be honest. So, you know, best of luck to Drogo for the rest of the tournament. But let's check in with the bracket really fast, as we do have 3 other quarterfinals ready to go for you before we reach the semifinals this evening. Drogo is our first semi-finalist. Our next game is on the right-hand side of the bracket. It is going to be Violet versus Serral, and then our third game is going to be Showtime versus Thermal, and then to wrap up the quarterfinals, the ZvZ, Bly versus Hydra to be last. So let's turn our attention to our next game. As you can see here, all the times and schedules for the rest of the day on your screen. It is Violet versus Serral. So far, Violet undefeated in this tournament. Not too many people talked about him. I mean, he's been a little bit underwhelming in the last 6-9 months or so of his career, but he's performing well here, Kalaris.
For sure. He did have a lot of problems, as you mentioned, in the previous WCS iterations, not really hitting it home at all. But it seems here that, especially in Legacy of the Void as well, we know Violet is always a very kind of aggressive Zerg. He was always more on the aggressive side going into the mid-game as well. And it seems that, you know, Legacy of the Void really helped out Zerg in that regard. All balance complaints aside, just don't look at like that. So he's doing okay. He's doing okay.
What are your thoughts about this match then, mate?
Honestly, I thought Violet would have flopped out a while ago in this tournament because of his previous results for the last year. You know, it's like you look at him and say, okay, based on Violet's record like years ago, he comes in, he starts playing in WCS America and whatnot, and you're like, okay, well, this guy should be shooting to the top, right? And then he doesn't, you know? It's like Polton, Hydra, and then Violet's like, yeah, he's kind of Korean, but he doesn't have anywhere near like the results as those guys. And then he comes in here, and you're thinking, okay, well, honestly, I expected any one of the other guys that he'd already played to knock him out, but he's calm, he's brought his A game, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like the same Violet we've been looking at the last year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, Serral's continuing to perform better and better and better. ZvZ can be a very difficult matchup to get a lot of consistency in it. If Drogo said, and Snoot said it, if there was full of Protosses, then Serral's going to walk over this tournament, but it is a ZvZ. Do you believe in the hype around Serral?
Of course I do. I think he's very, very impressive. He works very hard, and he shows in his games, and I think he has a very bright future, with or without a win here, and I think he's definitely got what it takes to beat Violet.
All right, well, looking forward to this one. It's just around the corner. We'll be getting into that very, very briefly. What are your thoughts then overall? Are you expecting then, score-wise, where would you go with this one?
I feel like this one's really, really tough to say. Violet, who, as we were talking about earlier, hasn't really dropped anything this tournament, really seems on point, seems very sharp. Serral, I'm mostly worried for him because I know if he wins this, he's still going to have that monster probably in the next round of Hydra. So how far, like he's got the most difficult road of any of the players left that want to make it to the finals, just as far as like the 2 best opponents he could possibly face. So I would say if I had to pick a score, I'd say I'm seeing it'll take a map or two, but I would give Violet like a 3-1 or 3-2 lead.
I am going to bring out my disgusting European bias, and I'm going to go for Serral, and I'm even going to go as far to say an all MYI final. Because at the moment, I think Serral, as much as it's Zerg versus Zerg, yes, it is volatile, and Serral can compete on this level, definitely, with someone like Violet. I think Serral's going to do it.
Johan, Warcraft 3 legend Todd Merlo. Your thoughts?
I feel like it's going to be a 3-1 for Serral here. Like Violet is, you know, he's had a good run, but Serral is just supposed to be the new guy on the block. I won't be, you know, obviously I won't be upset if Violet win. I'll be really happy. Like he's been around forever. You know, you mentioned Warcraft 3. Violet was actually a top player in Warcraft 3 as well. He actually played Orc. That's a funny transition, Orc to Zerg. But yeah, no, both players are really good. I think they are evenly matched, but I feel like this is Serral's time here to leave his mark on the scene.
He's looking all right, though. I mean, minutes before he's about to start a game, I think that's Wellmo just behind him, Showtime to his further left, and then someone just behind him. But he's looking okay there, looking calm, and I think that's something that is probably, for a lot of Finnish people, for a lot of Serral fans, probably something good to see about right about now as he's going to take on.
Is he coming ready?
I mean, a lot of other players could be staring at their screen, could be getting nervous, but he seems very calm and collected.
The thing is about Serral, whenever you see him in an interview and whenever you see him in our studios last year, he looked nervous, like in all of those moments. But that was a bit of a different Serral.
All right, well, we did manage to catch up with Serral after his victory yesterday, and we had some thoughts for him with regards to what he thinks about today.
I had some good games today, but I also had some not so good games. For example, in the second group stage, the first group stage for me, I was actually struggling a bit. I was about to lose to my brother actually. I managed to get to top 8, so it's really nice. I had goal to get actually my goal was to get semi-finals, but now actually when the brackets came up, I was beat. I wasn't actually expecting that anymore. I want to be playing in as many DreamHacks as possible and just other tournaments as well. And because this is a really good tournament to get some success, just because Koreans can't be playing in our tournaments. I will be trying to play in as many tournaments as I can.
Top 4 finish would, of course, mark the biggest result in Serral's StarCraft 2 career to date, and he could get more than that if he's able to continue his strong performances. We're going to go over to the commentary team as this next Zerg vs. Zerg is just around the corner, and it's going to be with Todd and Nathanius.
Thank you so much, Apollo. As we get ready to go into this next quarterfinal, Todd, things are heating up. Things are getting intense.
Yeah.
Violet, who has been living, playing, training in America, the East Coast, so still gets a good amount of games in on Europe. I haven't seen him playing that much in NA, actually, recently, so I'm expecting him to probably have played a good amount of games against these guys, either on a hidden account or something of that sort. So what is the key to success, do you think, then, for Serral, if Violet is actually, like, if he's back to his final form like he was, you know, a couple years ago and wins the Liberty?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, this is a clash that happens regularly on the European server, but you shouldn't look or read into this too much because there's probably delay involved with Violet being based out of North America and Serral living in Europe. Now, there's not going to be any delay. This is the big stage. This is where you need to be on point, and I really feel like basically the shape of the moment, the shape of the day, this is really a lot of the time what decides those games. Being able to go into the game with a good game plan is important, but almost everybody can, you know, figure out some sort of a good game plan. The execution usually, the feel that you can get during the game, being able not to go on, you know, autopilots and just like try to let your reflexes guide everything is important. You need to, I think, really be in the zone, basically. If you're able to properly read into everything your opponent's doing, as long as you're better, and like I said, these two they're very evenly matched, I think you're going to win here. So very important here not to play worse than they usually would.
Okay, I can appreciate that. You know, aside the NA-EU thing kind of going on, playing with that little bit of latency. Of course, ZvZ. We've seen a lot of the Ravager play, I think, be a very big factor for Zergs across the board, but especially in this matchup, you know, a lot of it is very different from just running those roaches into roaches. It's a lot more about actually positioning and microing in real time in big fights.
In terms of flow of the game, Violet definitely strikes me as the aggressor, a lot more so than Serral, that will, most of the time, I would expect be the defender. Then again, it's ZvZ, you know, maybe they just make lanes and bailings and kind of clash in the middle of the map and the world explodes and then there's a winner and there's a loser, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're starting out on one of the bigger maps, one of the, you know, people would say, quote-unquote, safer maps, Dusk Towers, to kick off this best of 5 in the bottom left position as the red Zerg player from Team Envy US. It is Violet.
Bit of a legend in eSports, if you ask me. He's very well respected amongst all pro gamers, and his opponent starting in the top left-hand side of the map. Playing as the Blue Zerg, it is, of course, Mind Sanity, Serral. He's only 17. Imagine being 17 and being this good at video games.
Oh.
I was like the worst player of all time at 17. Not even kidding.
Weren't you like winning things back then?
No, he was at 18.
Oh. Well played. So, Dusk Towers, like we were talking about, big 2-player map. No weird or sort of overlord shenanigans that we're probably going to have to worry about. It is interesting to think, though, especially based on what Kalaris and Apollo were saying, you know, when he came into the studio to play in the last 2 years, you know, all those nerves that come in, and he's kind of been able to get through that at a reasonable pace. He's come in, he's been super chill, and he's been showing some phenomenal games. Not too many complaints coming out of the Zergs these days, so it seems like if they're confident against a particular player, they don't really worry about any particular strategies or race that's going to be able to deny them from moving forward in a bracket.
Yeah, Serral really is one of the guys that seems to have a very good mindset. He's starting to have a lot of hours in offline tournaments under his belt. He's got that experience. And he mentioned yesterday in the interview very nicely how in Legacy of the Void, he didn't know if it's balance related, probably not clearly, but he thought that he took his overall level and improved a lot all of a sudden. And I just feel like it's just a stylistic thing. He always loved to go for hive, he always loved to go for transitions, and that's just how you need to play Legacy of the Void, to play Zerg at high level. It just fits him perfectly. So like I said, like this game was basically made for him, feels like, a lot of the time.
Yeah, some of the things in Legacy of the Void that definitely made ZvZ a bit more interesting in that regard is you don't have, it's, you know, because before it was usually like who can get more out as fast, but you have a little bit more forgiving ways in the mid-game, late game with the being able to queue up the larva, but also just having those units that give you more impactful engagements. Like we saw with the ZvZ from TLO and Snoot yesterday, that parasitic bomb dealing with heavy muta clouds, when otherwise you normally wouldn't have, in the heart of the swarm, a good way to deal with it, aside from mass spore.
Yeah, this is how we guessed this was going to go, by the way. Violet is going to be the one going for the aggression. He's making a lot of flanks, he's getting speed. As soon as this finishes, he's going to head across the map, and behind this, already the Roach one here starting. Whereas Serral, he's only been droning up. He's getting the bailing nest, though. If he can get bailing sometime, defense against that first wave of links, he's going to be in an okay position.
Yeah, he sees these links moving out across the map. He knows what's coming. Speed is done for Violet, and he's starting to march across the map. It's very important to keep in mind how much of his gas he's going to put straight into going for the roaches, how many roaches he's going to build, and whether he's going to try to turn them into Ravagers very quickly or not.
Yeah, that building positioning, by the way, is pretty sick. Like the Queen in a safe zone. He's getting bailings on the right-hand side, not to let anything go through. It can also go himself on the right-hand side to defending that natural. He's getting an Evo as well to all of his Queen in the natural. So far, not any damage has been dealt. Some good bailing detonation here out of Serral.
Hey, he's doing a pretty reasonable job of holding this off so far. We're not seeing those workers die with this type of attack. He's trying to get some more done. Now, keep in mind, Violet has been droning behind this himself, too, so not committing a crazy amount, whereas Serral had to build those fighting units to combat this. So, trying to... It's almost like he's throwing us a little bit of shade here, since this could have been a big all-in by him. And nice job actually catching those lings in the mineral line.
Okay, so Violet's plan, he made 2 roaches, right? I guess he wanted to go for a lot of links, try to do some damage behind his drone up, and put the roaches maybe in his ramp to prevent a counter-attack. But is 2 roaches enough? There is no creep there is no Queen as well.
Yeah, he starts up a few more behind
It might not be enough.
Yeah, I don't think actually 2 of them is enough to block that ramp on their own. And you know what? A surround here could be devastating if he can pick these roaches up very quickly. There's not much else to deal with this except for the few that are already in production. A 3rd roach is going to pop by, but if that one gets surrounded too, and it will, he's going to clean it up. There's just a queen here, and the banelings are going to come in as well. He's got to run the drones away.
Wow, this is a disaster here for Violet. He's trying to salvage the situation. He's trying to make it out of there.
Oh my God!
His own drones blocks him. And with 7 drones dead here, that was quite a bit of damage.
That's phenomenal. I mean, he sees the lair. We know that the lair is very close to finishing, but with the position that he's in, like, how many different things are you going to throw at him with a fast lair when he already knows, okay, keep your eyes open for a possible Nidus, build spores if you want to scout for Mutalisks, or even just throw a few links. Like, he has an idea of where Violet wants to take this game. He has the lead. All he needs to do is not get caught off guard or blindsided by anything that Violet chooses to go for, which in this game will be Aspire.
Serral came prepared this time for Violet, and after the initial good defense, throws in some offense himself, does some damage. The lair's now going to start. He's getting an Evo. I guess he canceled the original one he had made as his natural to block the queen in. And being ahead... Actually, that's the 2nd one.
Yeah, the tactical evolution chamber.
Oh no, hey, that's the first one that finished okay, and he started +1, so... He wants to go for more of a standard, I guess, Roach, Ravager, maybe some Hydralisks down the line against the right now Spire of Violet that's going to finish. Does Serral expect it, you think, already? Surely, right? He knows about this.
Seeing the lair, like, I don't think with the damage that he did to Violet, though, he would expect him to go for something like a Roach follow-up to this. Like, I think the Spire kind of makes sense in this position. And the biggest thing is, if Serral confirms that fast enough, we've already seen what the power of Nidus counterplay can do in those scenarios as well.
Serral right now is getting a lot of roaches. I feel like he's afraid of a roach attack, actually.
I think it's...
Why would you make so many if you're not going to attack? It feels like he's thinking he might be attacked by lots of roaches.
Yeah. I'm just looking to see if he's going to start something like a Nidus network now that lair is done. I feel like that would be, with the amount of roaches he's making, the best way to get across... Yeah, exactly. You use the queens to get across the map very quickly, because aside from those mutas, Violet has little else.
He's going to actually scout Evo going down now for Violet. I don't think that Overseer will be sniped before he can spot the Spire if he were to go to the natural now. And now Mutas are going to be on the way. A clutch scout here. Just before Mutas are out, he can now get Spores on time. And I really like the position here of Serral from there, but he has a lot of Overlords on the map that could get sniped. And Pneumatized Carapace only start now, so he's not going to have time to get speeds to save those.
Starting up quite a few. 7 Spore Crawlers in production, 2 per base to try to lock everything down. Of course, Spore Crawlers not quite as powerful as they were in Heart of the Swarm. And I'm assuming at this point, with all the roaches that he built, like you mentioned, he's starting to build more queens as well. Still interesting that there's no other tech choice that's been chosen. There it is, the Nidus network. This kind of, I feel like you
that's why you're the #1 StarCraft streamer, Nathanias.
Hey, man.
You knew that Nidus was going to start
because
even before Serral decided to make it.
Because as soon as you do anything weird, your opponent just Niduses you. So that's like, that's a good guess to go for.
Where is he going to throw it down, though, you think? Does he have to go immediately in the base of his opponent? Because he doesn't have anything nearby other than this.
As long as he doesn't have put it somewhere where like 4 or 5 banelings will insta-kill it, he just needs to get the queens out first. Then they can transfuse.
Technically, just saying, but Violet doesn't have a baneling nest, so...
Yeah, well, there you go,
I guess we're the roaches.
Suddenly, coming up bases for our friend here, Serral.
Oh, he spotted it, though. This is a big, big tale of what's coming here. Now all Violet has to do is find it and try and kill it as soon as he comes out. But
he spotted it, but he can't stop it, Todd. He needs to get all the queens inside, and if those bad boys pop out in the nick of time, and I like this, even sending some roaches straight across the map, the queens can pop out, transfuse, and immediately start attacking those Mutalisks. So the Nidus finishes. He needs to unload, needs to transfuse. He's starting to get the transfuse off. The mutas are pushed back, and now Serral has a forward position, starts up a second Nidus Swarm. He's just going to continue to tiptoe. Of course, that's going to provide creep for the queens to get aggressive at the same time.
Violet is trying to get as many roaches as his opponent here if he can. He's already got quite a bit, actually, even some Ravager as well. There is a chance Violet just holds this and wins the game. And actually some big, big bite is going to land on this Nidus, but he gets saved by the transfuse here at the last second. Serral, it almost feels as if this is hitting too late here.
That's a big deal. Every corrosive bile that's not killing something is just a little bit more time that he can continue to spend pushing up, and he still has the Nidus. He has the backup Nidus as well, and pulling back inside, he's going to retreat. I guess right now he's more concerned with the number of Ravagers that are on the field. Doesn't feel comfortable taking those down just yet. He could go back home, maybe build a few more Ravagers of his own, and just sort of winning the macro game, because Violet committed a lot to that.
I'm always so impressed when a player has the discipline to recognize a fight that they can't win in a game where it felt like they were committed. Serral was actually, he looked at the fight, he was like, okay, I'm not winning that fight.
I mean, if you look at the drone count, he was still pretty committed, and this is still going to be a very difficult attack to stop.
But still, instead of doing an attack that wouldn't have worked, he's going to try something.
That's true, that's true. Instead of losing the game right there, he has a chance now to take a better fight with his Ravagers, and I think this is a really powerful position with that high ground, too.
Whoa!
Don't walk into your own bile.
Careful. Steady, cowboy.
With this many Ravagers, as long as you don't, just spam out all of your biles in 1 second, you can continue to keep pushing them back away from that ramp. So I think that's one of the strongest parts of the Ravager in ZvZ. Because otherwise, like, if this is Heart of the Swarm, you say, okay, Violet might have a few less drones, but he's got 10 more roaches, like, it's over. There's nothing you can do. But the Ravager gives you that micro choice, that extra ability to make something of a situation like this without having to have a massive macro lead.
Violet actually played this really well. Like, after he fell behind early on, he just didn't overcommit on Mutas, made roaches just on time, made a lot of units. And now he's ahead on drones, he's ahead on army. He's just in a great position altogether. His missile +2 is just a little bit behind his opponents, but he's going to start hiding. He's going to start getting Hydralisks as Serral starts making Mutalisks. That's such a weird transition here out of Serral. I'm not sure what he was thinking here with this.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain what to make of it.
He wants to catch Violet off guard because nobody will go Mutas there, and I guess maybe flying to a middle line, kill a lot of drones. And
I can see where that works, but this is still really scary because of this ground force is so big. And like you mentioned, there are Hydralisks as well that are available, so low muta counts are not going to be instrumental against this army. They're not going to be super impactful. We do have the Hydralisk range and speed upgrade finishing right now. +2 is about to finish up for Violet, so this is a good window, at least as good a window as any when you're maxed out to try to hit this. And with that spread, with that massive army, we can see the mutas were brought back for Serral, so he's not able to use them in that gotcha sort of way.
And there's only 5 Hydralisks actually in this army, but there is a couple of Ravager that could do some big damage to these Mutas. If Serral's not careful, Violet's gonna get right in there. Serral might have overextended here in moving in the middle of the map.
And he's got a good couple of Corrosive Balls in the back, but he actually hits his own Mutalisks at the same time, and Violet continues to push forward. He's got a little bit of a supply deficit as he transitions into the Lurkers, but will he clean up too much before Serral's reinforcements finish? Steps up into Creepies in the third base. Most of the Ravagers haven't picked up. The Queens are coming in from behind. The rest of the Roaches are gonna pop. He should be able to clean up this army, but will Violet kill anything important before that point comes?
The Queens here really help with his spine as well, and Serral is gonna stay alive here.
Completely cleans up the army. He has the 4th base.
He's now ahead on workers. 67. Well, I guess he's just spent one here for something. 66 out of 65.
He's tightened things up enough to a point where it is going to be very nice for him. I think this Lurker Den is the biggest tool right now that Violet has, because if Serral wanted to try to match that, he still can't go for Lurkers. He can't get that Lurker Den and also at the same time get the Hydralisk upgrade, which upgrades both the range and the speed at the same time, which is such an important upgrade to have when you're constantly moving back and forth across the map.
Both of these guys are so good in the transitions, in the holds that they've had. Such great holds here. And now with the Lurker Den about to finish, Violet clearly is going to want to go for a couple Lurkers, maybe for some sort of a big push if he can. And it feels like Serral's going to need quite a few Ravagers to deal with this properly. Yeah, the corrosive bile, if you can land that somehow.
We saw in TLO's Snoot a good use of the Ravagers to take out the Lurkers. It's very important to try to spread the Lurkers out, burrow them before the fights that your opponent isn't 100% sure where they are. And I like this. He comes, he pushes him out. You force him to burrow in the middle of the field. You're delaying him. The Lurkers do not burrow as fast as the Roaches or Ravagers do, so it takes a little time to set up. And now there's the Mutalisk counterattack, just doing a bit of harass. Good couple drone kills, and he's saying, hey, get those Hydras back here, but it looks like Violet might be getting ready to commit.
Yeah, he might be losing patience here since those Mutas are doing some damage. He's gonna get right in there. It looks like he has more, and he has quite a bit more armies to play with Lurkers as well. Serral needs to pull back a little bit.
He needs to keep pulling away from where those Lurkers are. The Corrosive Biles are falling in tremendous numbers, but Serral down 20 supply. Can he do it with those Mutas across the field? The Lurkers continuing to press up. He's got right on top of that third base. If these Lurkers siege on the ramp, it's not going to be doable. GG. Violet takes game number 1. You can see that stress on his face. It was not an easy victory by any means, Todd.
Really back and forth, and he did the job in the end, but that was not easy, What a first map here to start things with. Both players trading punches, but with Violet coming out on top here, he has to be happier with this. You know, best way to open a best of 5, and Serral, hopefully he's not getting too worried here, because he played pretty well, but it wasn't enough here for Violet.
You could really see how evenly matched both of these guys were, just with the way that the opener went back and forth, the solid hold of the initial speedling rush, and then the swift counter to put more pressure back on Violet because he didn't have enough roaches to hold the ramp like you pointed out. And then just swiftly moving into that really fast lair, the really fast Muta, the denial of any damage by the Mutas into the Nidus counterattack, and then having just enough Ravagers to stop that, and like you said, pulling back at the last second. Like, there were just so many quick decisions that had to be made, and they pretty much made all the right choices up until the engagements happened at the end.
Definitely, I think shouldn't have gone for that Spire after opening Roach Ravager the way he did. I feel like if he had added Hydralisk himself, gone for Lurkers, then it would have been an even game, because the Mutas really didn't do that much. They helped a little bit in that first big fight when he held. But if you had had Hydras, surely they would have been even better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the biggest advantage there is that you have the Mutalisks on top of your armies, so you don't have to worry about the Hydras spreading out in like a choke point. But yeah, honestly, I'm not entirely sure why he went for that. Maybe he wasn't expecting Violet to be so out on the map, but as soon as Violet maxed out every time in that game, he moved across the map. He tried to find a position to fight in. And this was a moment that I also thought was really important, because like you pointed out, he was down on supply on this, and he didn't have enough to break him, especially with Ravagers. Like, if you can't throw any corrosive biles yourself, you're not going to win this, because those Ravagers also have a lot more range. His army fights at the same time, but he sees this opportunity after Violet makes a phenomenal hold, and he's like, okay, I'm not going to throw the game away right here. I'm going to pull back, give myself a chance, and let this one run a little bit longer.
And they really did, actually, with the next hold. It's just that those Mutas didn't do enough here behind this. At the end here, he was killing a bunch of stuff, but then Violet has so much more on the ground and was able to close things out down the line. So, a really nice first game.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like this, I love this ZvZ. Like, neither of us play Zerg, so we can just be super objective here. I love watching this sort of ZvZ a lot more than Heart of the Swarm. Like, just the giant masses of roaches. We really get to see a lot more opportunities to take advantage of with the corrosive biles, and they also serve as an interesting way to deal with those lurkers too. We're currently loading into game number 2. That'll be played out on Leralac Crest. 4-player maps. Usually we see things a little bit more cheeky, Todd.
Zergling, Baneling, commitment.
Some fast roaches. We always love to see. And we have, spawning in the bottom right position of Leralac Crest, the red Zerg player, currently up 1-0 in this best of 5. He is NVS's Violet.
A bit of an old schooler in the StarCraft scene for sure.
He's
been around for a long time.
For a really long time. He's facing off against the young 17-year-old Zerg player in the Northwest representing My Insanity. He's Serral.
A young talent that a lot of people have come to expect great things out of. He's definitely been on the rise for a long time and proves it once again here with a very deep run already in this DreamHack, which is not over yet. He could go further in this tournament. Definitely 2 extractors have started and they didn't get cancelled yet. So it's really looking like both players here want to open with speed pretty quickly. They're going to follow this up with the pull clearly. And we could have some fireworks here early on in this game, Nathan.
I mean, Leralac Crest is just such an open map that normally you're looking at Zerg and you're saying, okay, well, walling off any of these ramps, not really going to work. You have that third base with the rocks that you can't really move too many units out early on the knockdown. So you're going to always play with that in mind. And I guess for Zerg players, they know it's really open as well. So covering all those possible pathways where they can attack you, you know, to put it simply, Todd, it's not as easy as parking 5 roaches on that small ramp to protect both your main and your natural.
To put it simply, if Protoss and Terran cannot wall of this ramp, Zerg certainly can't. So that also applies in Mirror.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting map, as that it's just so open, really. There's not really, this is like probably one of the least choky maps there is outside of that point in the third base with the rocks. And being cross spawns, we don't have any of that weirdness that comes up, but I think the biggest thing for Zerg players is usually that they just don't know what the opponent is up to, so they're more likely to, you know, you either have the crazy gamblers like Life who would do something crazy on this map, and I guess Violet kind of falls into there as well, but at the same time, if you take some sort of other risk or, you know, in a really greedy way, like not going for speed, then well, your life just becomes really tough if you don't scout them fast and know what they're doing.
Baning Nest already going down here for Serral, but not for Violet. A little bit surprising. Like, why is he saving so much gas?
He's
if
getting
not for
a good
Banings?
couple lings out too. I think he's moving up to something like 8 or 10. If he, he's continuing to build more. So Serral is continuing to pull some lings. Now Violet likewise, but you mentioned it. He doesn't have the Baneling Nest, so he's going for the Roach Horn again. This is very similar to the last map, and the Baneling Nest this much earlier with Serral being aggressive. If those roaches don't come out in time, you know, it turns from I'm gonna cheese you to I need my cheese to defend your cheese.
Last time Violet skipped the Baneling nest, he found himself behind early on in the game, but then he still won anyway, so maybe neither player wants to change their strategy. Serral thinking that he can do it better this time, and Violet thinking that he's found success already with this style in the first map.
Yeah, and you know what's really nice is those Banelings morphing just outside the vision of those Overlords. He sends the Lings around the side. He's going to run them straight across the map, maybe catch the reinforcements, but one of those Banelings getting just a few Lings there.
But there's a lot of Lings actually headed across the map here. Serral's going to have a solid defense here. He needs to morph in some Banelings at his ramp. He's doing that right now with the single one that's being morphed.
Yeah, he's trying to hold that ramp together. I'm surprised sending all those slow Banelings all the way back across the map. They're not going to get here very soon. Big Baneling detonation takes out half the Lings in his base from Violet. A nice catch. Violet behind this does have a small drone lead, though, so with Serral continuing to slam down that Z key. Yeah. He's committing himself to a very big, very heavy counterattack, but there's already 6 roaches on the way for Violet.
Yeah, Serral wants to do some damage here. If he can, Violet, he's going to have to wall up that ramp, maybe evacuate the natural base, but this is going to hit fast and hard. Is he ready just yet? Only one single queen, and the roach about in position here at the ramp. Looks like Violet might be fine. Well, that one roach won't be fine.
Catching some of those roaches right as they pop out is quite nice, and Violet trying to go for the Ling counterattack as well. Serral has enough Lings at home to defend. Just very important, even if he can't kill much, if he delays the mining at that natural, gets some time to move some of his drones over, build a few himself. Even with the extra drones, he doesn't get the value out of having them on that second base.
Violet is going to start droning. He's not got the ramp, but I guess he might have the queens in a backup situation here at his ramp. Actually, no, he just left that wide open. Felt confident enough that Serral wouldn't try to run past him there. And now Serral has to be the one that has his own roach warren here.
And this is really just showing like Violet's kind of got a lot of things on down. I think a really good thing Violet did a great job of was keeping those Lings. He was constantly looking to get those Lings inside of Serral's base too, so had him worried at every step of the way. The roaches move forward a little bit though, so Serral has some opportunity now. It's just this queen in the main base. He moves over to block by the spawning pool, but he's already gotten one drone. Can he get any more? Picks off a second one, and he's got Violet kind of running around. He's not mining off his main base anymore, so every little bit of damage he's doing here by either preventing mining or killing the drones is really important.
Kill as many drones as he can here. He's gonna get 3 in total. And now Serral is still behind on walkers actually. Oh, that's the second wave. If Violet gets a little bit too confident here and moves out, these Lings will be counterattacking pretty much instantly. And now Serral starts the roach production himself. He's trying to catch up on the drone count in the meantime. Gonna run in with one single Ling to check the saturation here.
Yeah, I love that. He wants to also know where those roaches are in case he can throw the rest of his Zerglings into that main base.
Sees that no lair started as well, which is a big information.
Yeah, that's a nice tell. He doesn't have to worry about roach speed, so at this point, he should be expecting Violet to go for a big shove. He doesn't have a third base. He doesn't have a lair. No evolution chambers pumping out any quick upgrades for him either. So really all you can expect is, well, the only things he can build. It's going to be Lings, roaches, and in this case, of course, Ravagers. Serral does go for a quick an evolution chamber as well. I'm wondering if we're going to see him maybe try to get a drop overlord or something like that. Yeah, looks like it. And it's going to be denied by the Ravagers. Nice play. He wanted to go for a quick speedling drop, which could have been quite difficult to handle. But he starts +1 missile weapons and Tata.
Which could be a big deal, actually.
He's investing a lot into things that aren't units, and his opponent is sending a lot of units across the map at him.
Yeah, Serral needs to catch up on these numbers there. He needs to make a lot of units, but he's actually supply blocked here. Because of that overload that got sniped, he was supply blocked for a second. He gets a bunch more overloads, but he needs a lot of roaches. That one's going to get sniped as well.
Yep, and that is certainly going to continue to make things even more difficult for him as this attack comes. Starts the Spine Crawler. It won't be done in time. His +1 attack sure as hell won't be done in time.
He snipes the egg!
Uses the bile to snipe all the eggs. There's no more buildings. GG, Violet goes up 2-0 in this best of 5 against Serral.
Violet. You know, I talked about how I thought Serral was going to be the favorite. How wrong was I? Violet has not lost a map yet in this tournament, has he? He went 10-0 yesterday, and today is 2-0.
He's playing exceptionally well here at the DreamHack Zowie Open. Really impressive so far. And I love seeing that sort of stuff that we saw at the end of the game, because that's one of those things that I feel like people haven't been talking about a crazy amount in Legacy of the Void, is that you have these other early game tools that can actually be really good at shutting down Zerg production, which we don't normally see. And in this instance, you drop 4 or 5 biles on all those eggs with the AoE damage they have. you kill those eggs, sure, the Zerg player gets their money back, but they don't get the larva back. So they can't just build more units.
Serral was already struggling to catch up in supply. Now Violet made sure that there was not going to be enough to hold this, and this was the final nail in the coffin here for Serral. And Violet, man, he's taking names. He's not stopping here. I can't believe he hasn't lost the map. That's such an impressive performance already in this tournament. He's looking like he's going to go to the next round easily if he keeps up with that. All he needs right now is one more map here against Serral, and he's through to the next round, to the semifinals.
It's been sick play. I love seeing that sort of stuff, though, because it's so much more common in this game. Like in TvZ, when you go for Reaper Cheese, you can kill the larva with the grenades. You can use the Corrosive Bile to kill larva. It one-shots them, so suddenly you see the guy's hatchery pops with the larva inject. You drop that Corrosive Bile just fast enough, and that's it, you know? Yeah, okay, you can have all the money in the world, but if you have no larva, no units, it doesn't matter. It's such a phenomenal way, especially in ZvZ, to use those Ravagers to shut down your opponent's production.
He had exactly enough to do it. I think he had about 5-6 Ravagers, so that was perfect here. And Violet's very impressed, I have to say. Surprising performance here. Like, he's definitely
he showed up.
Looking really strong in this tournament.
He showed up in a big way. The third map is going to be Orbital Shipyard. We're loading into that right now. It's do or die for the young Mind Sanity Zerg player.
Yeah. He's going to have to do better than this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in a situation like that, if he had gotten the Evo Chamber earlier, maybe he finds that faster drop. But, I mean, he was trying to go for a bit of a cheeky play while his opponent was gearing up for the all-in, basically, with no lair, no Evo Chambers. And it worked so well for him. And he, of course, is this man in the southwest of Orbital Shipyard with that pool starting up quite fast. He's EnVyUs's Violet. The 12 pool, Todd.
When being up to 0, why not? And I mean, his opponent is going to have to react properly here to this. And hopefully for him, he doesn't get caught off guard. Playing as the Blues against, of course, Serral. I was going to ask, like, if you think that Serral should try and change things up in terms of getting the Baneling Nest or not, because Violet has been the one that's been skipping that. But I guess even before that, we should first focus on whether he can hold this comfortably or not, because this is going to hit hard, and he goes for a hatchery first here.
I think the biggest thing we've seen so far in this series is kind of what I expect out of Violet. He's very assertive. He's the guy that's going to hold the door open for you, Todd. He's going to be the one that tells you to walk through first. And in ZvZ, he's going to be the one that tells you when you're allowed to build units and when you can move out. Because Serral...
He holds down the door for you, and then he pushes you down some stairs, or...
Exactly. And then he tells you to get up and apologize for getting in his way.
Yeah, I got my legs broken in falling into the stairs.
Well, my point is, like, when you're playing against Violet, it's very hard to do what you want to do, you know? He's going to make the game all about him, either through his strategy or through his build orders or his micro. And in this game, he's putting... Already, Serral doesn't even know.
Actually, this really feels like Violet knew that on this map, his opponent's probably going to go for a hatch first here on this map. So he's like, you know what? Just going to open with a couple links, do some damage, go for my own hatchery behind this, build up my economy, and bring myself ahead in the first couple minutes, because you're predictable. I'm up 2-0, and I feel comfortable enough to finally do a very aggressive opener here that I will commit to.
Yeah, and at this point, you know, the Lings will only just be starting as he's got Lings in his base. So he'll have to pull his drones. He won't be mining as much. And in this situation, like, if you're Serral, you're just like, oh, boy, we have to start off like this. A couple drones already going down now. Violet still behind a couple. He's building drones back home. And yeah, Serral's not mining at all. 0 income. That's it.
Taking quite a bit of damage. The links, I think, from Violet here are going to be stacked before the links of Serral came out.
He has now. He's done more than enough damage. Yeah. This is almost game-ending damage at the beginning of this battle.
Speed's on the way though for Serral. This could be the saving grace if he can make something happen with that. But Violet sees it. He sees it on the way. He's got all the initiative in the world in this game.
Yeah, and Violet opened up with his hatchery in that pocket base, which means a lot on Orbital Shipyard. Since he has 2 queens on the way, he can block his ramp very fast if there's a quick counter. He doesn't have to invest in a ton of Zerglings in order to defend a counter push, so he could still keep building drones if he wanted to. That's what he's doing. He's getting a spine crawler as well. He's already posturing himself to defend the counterattack while still just building drones. And he's gonna get an Overlord.
Wow, this just never ends, does it?
Bang, bang. Violet, I mean, that's Violet in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, start the creep spread going as well instead of prioritizing
and that,
the inject. Like he knows that if he gets the spine over there, he's going to be so safe.
You get the spine behind the queens, and then that's it. Like, good luck getting your Zerglings through here. It's not happening. And
good luck getting anything through there, except adepts, because they walk through you.
And the thing is, if you're on any other map, you'd need to help build lings, because then he could run around your queens, he'd run around your spine, like Lair Crest, for example. But on this map, he says, nope, I can keep building drones, have fun getting through my queens and my spine, and I'm just going to tech up and take this lead very happily to a nice mid-game stage.
So Serral, surely, like, he knows that this is not going to work. He's just going to be droning up, trying to catch back up if he can. He's doing a pretty good job, actually. Back to 26 against 31.
It is really smart of him to anticipate how Violet may have reacted to this by not building any more Zerglings. You know, even if Violet has this small worker lead, I feel like if Serral had just tried to build 30, 40 lings and just push through these queens, you know, he's putting everything on just one more attack. And this is it. This is the whole series on the line. So taking this third base a bit faster.
I like this, actually, yeah. Serral realized that Violet is stuck on 2 bases for the most part for now, so he tries to start his own third base a little bit earlier. Lair starts now for Violet.
Yeah, he's trying to use this spine crawler now. He moves it down, and he wants to take his third base, too. He's thinking, okay, I should be able to grab this as long as those lings don't kill the drone before it plants itself.
I guess this is going to be Mutas here out of Violet because he's taking so many gases at once. He went up to 4 very quickly. And then from there, he can start walking on his third base and play in a similar way that he did in the first map. Get just a couple new tasks out, have that threat out there, and then go for his own Roach Ravager, and down the line, maybe even Hydra Disc or Lurkers if he needs to.
Yeah, he has a lot of options in front of him, even if he wanted to just go for a Roach one. But I think with the Ling speed starting up, he wants to be able to dump his minerals there. These Lings actually won't make it into the main base. He won't get that information that he wants. And Violet starts his third. So the only advantage Serral has in this game is that his third base is going to finish a little bit faster. And without the Lair tech, he is in a position to go for a big aggressive play. He's getting an Evolution Chamber as well.
The Spire is going to start now, though. Like, those Mutas are going to come very quickly into this game.
He could try to bypass this wall, though, with his Roaches he's building. Does he have any Overlords near or around or outside of his base that he could try to drop with? Just a few. They're not super close, and they're in vision of other Overlords, but maybe he just gets +1 attack, and he's not thinking about being cheeky. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Missile's going to start here from Serral, who seems to always prioritize that, even in the last game where he was quite a bit behind. That's also one of the reasons why he had less, actually, by the way, because that was a pretty big investment on a game where the economies were very low from both players. But now Violet, he's going to have quite a bit of gas to play with. I think he's going to have enough to start a good chunk of Mutas in the first place. Usually you don't want to get, I think, more than 7 or 8. And then behind this, you get your own Roaches. So we see the Roach run already start here for Violet behind this, before the Muta production even began. Evolution Chamber as well. Pneumatized Carapace is on the way here for Serral.
I think he still wants to try to do something with drops at some point in this game, but
this links well.
Like, Serral has a couple more drones than Violet, but all the time it took him from how this game started to actually catch up. He doesn't have any units because of that. He's just like, okay, now I've caught up in drones, but you already started building army units, and now he loses the third base, which was the only thing he had faster than Violet. He has to cancel that Evolution Chamber, and Mutalisks are going to be the next phase. And just like in Heart of the Swarm, man, the biggest problem with dealing with Mutas is that if you don't have that third base secured, you don't have Queens and Spores there, both of those moves so slow. How is he supposed to take
11 Mutas, by the way. It looks like Violet might be committing to this.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he's not going to be able to take this third base. That's the biggest power of going for Mutas in this stage. Like, there's no creep spread. He can't get Queens over there. He can't get Spores there. He doesn't have any Spores to move there. Like, I think Violet should show up, kill this third.
Well, yes, Lair.
And then he could just win the game.
He could drop creep and put a Spore, technically.
I'm not feeling it, Todd. I think these Mutas are going to be a bit of a...
You're not feeling it.
I think they're going to be a dark awakening. Okay. Okay, Todd.
It's actually a great move.
I didn't know your headset was wired into Serral's computer. My bad.
I think it's one of the better moves that he could do here, really, but it might be too late anyway because the Mutas are already flying across the map.
I'm glad he was thinking about it, that's for sure.
Let's see, does he finish on time? Yeah, it looks like actually it's okay.
Yeah.
I was panicking here for a little bit.
Oh, smart.
Oh no, he's moving it. Nate is moving it.
Oh no!
Oh!
But he's dropping more creep! I mean, the Queens are left all alone, though, and the Lings are going to come in at the same time. The Roach is not as big of a threat. That Spore Crawler picks off one of the Mutas. He's going to start another Spore. Really, actually nice using that spreading creep. Honestly, that was... I didn't think he'd do that. That was
Did he
really
cancel
smart.
something? Did he cancel another Spore or something? Yeah, he was getting another one, I think. Maybe a little bit in panic. Those Mutas are going to fly around here, trying to do some damage on that Extractor.
it's hard to be sure how many he's going to commit to because these mutas are getting damage done, and at the same time, he's already moving into Roach's. Roach speed's almost ready, plus one attack's almost ready.
I think it's better to transition. Like, he's going to do as much damage as he can here with Violet, with these mutas that he has out on the map, and then behind this, he's just going to be a Roaches. Finds a hole in the defense here between two Sports and the rest of the Queens.
And keep in mind, during this whole entire time, Violet's been mining very happily off of his third base. He's picking off Queens, which means no
He's quite a bit ahead in Walker, 61 drones to 47. Violet, this could be the 3-0 here that sends him into the semifinals.
And this has honestly been a bloodbath of a series. Violet completely dunking on my insanity.
And with how good Violet ZvZ is looking here as well. Imagine he has to face another Zerg next here in Bly or Hydra.
I'm sure Hydra's watching these games. Bly. I mean, he does crazy stuff, so I don't know how much he would be doing anyway. But this game spiraled out of control so fast from the very beginning for Violet, and he will advance on 3-0 to the semifinals of DreamHack Open Leipzig.
Still has yet to lose a map here in this tournament. Fantastic performance. That was so solid. Every single decision, starting with, the way he was aggressive in the start, did a bit of damage, then behind this, there was the perfect defense with the Queens from the ramp. Then he goes for the cancel on that third base. That was so important. If he had just let Serral expand and, sit back at home in peace, build up his economy, I think Violet would have been in trouble. But no, snipes the third hatchery, the Muta follow-up comes. Serral had a really nice reaction with the creep drop and Sports, but Violet still found holes in the defense.
Yeah.
And behind is just too many Roaches and economy for it.
It's still really important, if you look, looking at it objectively, even though he made those fancy moves to try to retake that third base, Violet was still mining off of his own third that whole entire time. And that alone, because you're trying, first of all, you're losing drones because he's killing them, but you're also spending your drones on Spores. Violet's not building any more mutas. He's going into Roaches, and he's just going to be able to build more Roaches than you. He's got 3-base economy versus 2-base here. Your options are limited, Todd.
That was as convincing as it gets in terms of ZvZ here, I think.
I felt like the first two games, there was a lot of leeway for both of them. Game number 2, it seemed Serral had a bit of a greedier follow-up, trying to go for the cheeky drops, trying to go for the extra upgrades early on.
That was the nice initial defense here against those mutas, but it's good that Violet didn't panic here for him. It's just that kind of pullback. He's like, okay, you've got Spores, you've got Queens, fine. I'll find room elsewhere to do some damage. In the meantime, I'm going to get a lot of Roaches because I'm ahead on Walkers already anyway. Goes for an extractor, forces Queens out of position, so that means that they're not even injecting. In the meantime, they're going to go down as well behind this, and Violet was just ahead in everything except that +2, but he was the last of his worries because he had even attacked before that completed.
At that point, it doesn't really matter anymore. Violet, we can see at this point in the game, was up 144 supply to 91.
Serral even misread here. I think he went for the in-space station pick, thinking it might be mass mutas.
Yeah, and that's
a mistake.
That's not going to do it either. He's not going to be able to. He's not playing against mass mutas, so Vipers are useless. The Infestors are useless. Fungal pretty much tickles Roaches, but let's hear from Violet himself. He's over in Smix City. What's going on?
Well, Nathanis, we're right about to find out, as we do have Violet joining us in the Smix corner. Violet, first of all, congratulations. You've already made it to the top 4. You're in the big money now. And it's most interesting because I feel like, we throughout this tournament, we've talked about so many different players, but to be honest, your name wasn't brought up that many times. And so you must feel especially happy to be able to at least validate the, disbelievers and make it here.
I know everybody now kind of underestimates me because I don't play very well last year, and actually I hard to practice last year, so I agree with that. So I don't feel bad. So I practiced a lot recently, so now I make semi-final. So I think my practice is worth it.
All right, well, let's just jump into talking about the series. Your opponent was Serral, who obviously everybody knows he's a very, very strong player despite being so young. Coming to this opponent, you actually played a Laser and you beat him, and a Laser is obviously known for being a very strong Zerg player as well. So did defeating him kind of give you confidence going up against another strong Zerg player?
When I practice a lot, I actually practice a lot in Korean ladder and Europe. Europe ladder is a little bit, but Korean server and Europe server have a totally different style. So I make some little strategy in Korean server, and I'm sure European Zerg player have no idea with that. And if he is take a time for figure out make a counter. So that's why I trying my same build again. And if he know how to counter, it doesn't matter. I have another one, so I'm pretty confident.
So I would kind of like to ask you, before we talk about the games a little bit in depth, you know, before going into this series, like you took out Elaser, and Elaser is definitely considered to be one of the better Zergs in Europe, but Serral has been getting all the love, you know. I love his ZVP, even though like I'm Protoss and I find it painful, but I think like the kid is so good and ZVT is so good as well. Were you like even like a little bit nervous going into this series, or did you really believe in yourself like, okay, he might be good, but I'm still Violet, like I think I can do this?
I mean, it's like so far, I didn't even lose one map. So
yeah, that's
Jesus.
so sick. You're like 13-0 right now?
Even I lose like couple game, I might start nervous, but you know, I think just my practice worked really well. So I just believe in myself, and that's how it works. So I'm still really confident.
Yeah, Rotterdam, I feel bad because, like I just mentioned earlier, we've been talking about all these other players, but now I think you're 13-0 in maps at this tournament, correct?
Yep.
That's crazy. We haven't talked about him that much.
It is crazy, but I love how Violet says it himself as well. He's like, yeah, a lot of people are not really talking about me as a top contender, and I'm completely okay with that because 2015 was not my year. You're like, we know how good you can be, and 2015, like you showed up a couple events, but this is like 2013 Violet. You know, this is like all
it's
business
new year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's starting off great. We can talk a little bit about the games. Like game number 1 is a game that stood out for me. I was still running around a little bit as I joined the show a little bit later, so I missed a couple of details. But when I glanced at the screen, it's like, okay, things are going well for Serral. Then suddenly I see the Nidus attack, and at first I was like, okay, this has potential, but it felt like you hold pretty convincingly. Could you talk us through the game? Like what went through your mind in that game?
First game and the Dusk Tower, in early game, I a little bit mistake. I lose a lot of juggling to his baning, so his counter attack me killed my roaches, and he killed a lot of my drone with baning as well. So I was really behind. I'm sure I was, and then I got supply block too. Oh, there we go. And then this time, I feel like I'm really behind. So only chance I can do is just do better macro or just surprise Muta. That's why I go layer and go Muta instead.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. So look at my drone account.
Yeah, 3 base against 2 base, 11 workers. Like a lot of Zerg players look at this and be like, it's over, you know?
If it was Idra.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, so I was trying to just focusing on macro because there's no way I can give him damage because I know he's really good at micro and macro as well. So, but only chance I have a little because macro, so I go layer and little surprise Mutalis. I think he didn't expect Muta as well. Yeah. So I give him like a little bit damage, and I didn't see third gas from Serral. So I think he's going to knight us for sure, and a lot of kin as well. Yeah. So I was making a lot of roaches, but when his Nidus come, his army is not that big than I expect. Yeah. So I like, oh, maybe I can hold it. So I trying to crossfire with my Revisor, but one shot left. The Nidus was survived. So that time, you know, I don't have a vision in Nidus. So I think he have more army than me. So I was a little scared to get pushed. But I didn't. I just keep making roaches and good crossfire shot couple, and that's why I hold it.
Yeah, so after that game 1, and you just said it yourself that, you know, Serral started out in a really good position, and yet you were the one that took that game. Do you think that this affected Serral mentally at all? Because for games 2 and 3, it just really seemed like you were the one that controlled the pace of the series.
Yeah, I think after first game, because, you know, if you like professional player, you know how I'm head or his head, so you need the mental control. I think first game Serral was very head, so but he lose it, so maybe he get a little nervous or little mental trouble. That's why I get face other next games.
Yeah, and he's only 17 years old. I believe you're 8 years older than him, and obviously you just pointing out the details there. But obviously you have years and years of playing under your belt. And we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you know, 2012 especially was a really good year for you. You had 6 top 4 finishes as well as 2 championship titles under your belt. But you mentioned this earlier as well, that since then it really hasn't been that strong, really good Violet that we've seen. But now it's looking like maybe you turned over a new leaf. You seem more motivated. So why is that?
Like after 2013, I had a visa problem. So I had to spend all time in Korea 1 year. And while I'm staying in Korea, I have a lot of family trouble as well, so I just can't focus on the game. But now I just back to 2015. As also, I had a sick. I had some little tumor in my neck. I had a surgery and a lot of bad stuff. I just can't focus on the game. So I don't spend time Christmas and New Year in Korea. I just back to America, trying to focus on game, the StarCraft, and I practice a lot. I skip the gym, so I'm now weak.
Priorities.
So I just practice a lot of StarCraft. So I think it's first event in New Year and 2016, and it goes well so far. So I feel really good. Feel good, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is already a phenomenal start to the year, no matter what happens. Obviously, I mean, you're 13-0. You're not thinking about the rest of the year. You're thinking about this tournament right now. But, you know, looking at this new WCS format and knowing that there will be 5 players guaranteed, or basically 8 from this WCS region, but 5 from the points, like, not really many people mention you as like, hey, probably Violet at BlizzCon. You've never been there. Is this like a big driving force now, right? Like, this is a great start, right?
Yeah, it's a really great start.
Yeah.
And actually, the WCS, the Citizen Rock, I was kind of losing motivation. But after that, a couple days later, I just thinking, well, only way I can do better is I have to practice a lot, just be a best player. That's how it works. So that's on my way. And actually, yeah, there it works.
So the dream is alive and you're going to BlizzCon this year?
Dreams come true.
Okay.
All right, then. Well, you've already started this year off with you've already landed top 4 here. So best of luck. We'll see how you do.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
So I want to say just thanks for my team, because I did an interview like for a lot of months.
Envious.
Yeah, envious. And even I do really bad at tournament and not good result, they are always really good support me. They take care about me. And you know, their CS team is winning everything, so I was feel bad. So time to be better in this year with my team, hopefully.
Well, I'm sure they're cheering you on, and you are moving on to the semifinals, and you'll be playing the winner of either Hydra or Bly. But before we get too carried away, we'll find out our third match. It'll be between the last German left in the tournament, Showtime, versus the last Terran. So we'll see who moves on to face PT Drogo.